My name is Mara Keegan. I'm 14 years old, the youngest daughter in a family that looks perfect from the outside. Money, influence, a respected mother who sits on boards and knows judges by first name, a sister everyone calls brilliant without hesitation. Celeste was born to shine. I was born to stay quiet. While she learned how to win rooms, I learned how to disappear inside them. I've spent most of my life feeling like a guest in my own house, tolerated but never fully trusted, loved only when I didn't cause inconvenience. I told myself that was just how families worked, until the night a single lie rewrote everything I thought I knew about loyalty, protection, and my own mother. Because the storm didn't start outside our house that night. It started the moment she looked at me and said, "Get out." The rain had teeth. It sliced my cheeks as I ran, stung my neck like needles. My sweatshirt was soaked, shoes heavy with mud. My skin burned from the cold. But that was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. The door had shut behind me like a final verdict. I wasn't grounded. I wasn't in trouble. I was erased. Every porch light I passed was off. Every house dark. The whole town seemed to agree Mara Keegan didn't belong here anymore. I didn't know where I was going. My legs just moved. My head throbbed. My breath was all smoke and panic. Grandma's cabin flashed in my mind, run down, buried in the woods, locked for years since she died. No heat, no power, but hidden. Hidden was good. The path twisted behind the old cemetery. Trees creaked like they were whispering things they didn't want me to hear. My fingers felt raw, trying to pry open the gate behind the graveyard. It gave way with a metal groan that sounded too loud. I didn't look back. I found the cabin under moonlight breaking through clouds. The front steps were rotted. One snapped under me, sharp as a trap. I staggered inside, flashlight from my backpack bouncing across walls covered in dust and spiderwebs. Every shadow looked like it might move, but nothing did. I barricaded the door with an old chair, then collapsed onto the cold floor. Silence. I'd heard people say it's darkest before the dawn. That's a lie. It's darkest when you realize nobody's coming. I dragged myself toward the fireplace, found a half-used candle and lit it with a cheap lighter I'd stolen from Celeste weeks ago, just to piss her off. Funny how theft saved me tonight. And then I saw it. A phone. Burner. Black. Tucked under a floorboard I didn't remember loosening. I hesitated, then picked it up. 5 unread messages. The screen buzzed again. Unknown. Move. They know you're awake. Someone's watching the house. Don't speak. Don't run. Window. Now. I dropped the phone like it burned. Think, Mara. Think, I muttered. It buzzed again. Another message. Unknown. You have 15 seconds. I shoved the phone in my hoodie, kicked open the back door, and bolted into the trees. Branches clawed my face. My lungs burned. My body screamed. But I kept running. Because sometimes the monster isn't under your bed. It's sitting at your family's dinner table. I crashed down behind a fallen log, heart jackhammering. Waited. Listened. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Not mine. I counted them in my head. 6. 7. Stop. Silence again. Then a voice. You're not supposed to be here. I froze. A flashlight beam swept over the woods. Mara. That voice. Soft. Familiar. Wrong. Rhett Calloway stepped into view, soaked from head to toe, holding a flashlight and something else I couldn't see. I stood. You were at school today, I said, before the photo went viral. He nodded. I know. What's going on? He didn't speak, just reached into his jacket and pulled something out. A flash drive. I think they're trying to do to you what they did to my brother, he said, and they almost got away with it. I didn't move. He nodded slowly. Your sister, and maybe more. I've been tracking things since Nolan disappeared. Nolan Calloway, expelled last year for academic misconduct. Vanished. Transferred, they said. but no one knew where. Even teachers whispered. Rhett's jaw clenched. You weren't supposed to be next. But when the photo leaked, I knew they'd start it again. Why would Celeste? He cut me off. Not here. Not now. They're watching. He looked around. This place isn't safe anymore. Then where? He pointed toward the old ravine trail. There's a server room at the school. They forgot to lock it last time. That's where Nolan kept copies. Of what? He didn't say, but he turned and started walking. I followed. Sometimes the truth doesn't scream. It whispers, and you have to be willing to chase it into the dark. You weren't the only one they tried to ruin. We slipped in through the back door. No alarms. No cameras. Rhett knew which hallway sensors were dead. He'd mapped it all last semester after detention hours. Keep your hood up, he whispered. Fluorescent lights flickered above us. The halls were empty, but it felt like they weren't. Like the building itself was holding its breath. The server room was in the east wing, locked with a code pad. Rhett punched in the numbers from memory. The green light blinked once. Door slid open with a mechanical hiss. Inside, cold. Metal racks. Blinking servers. Hum. So low it crawled under your skin. He moved fast, pulled out a laptop, connected the flash drive, booted into something that looked like it wasn't meant to exist. This is Nolan's, he said. His backups. He didn't trust cloud storage. He said if something could be deleted with one click, it could be buried forever. He typed. File scrolled. Photos. Chat logs. Disciplinary records. Here, he pointed. Code C-read. A folder opened. My name. My student file had been modified last week. Notes added. Behavior flagged. Digital records signed by Vice Principal Lar. Timestamped during the exact hour we were both in assembly. Forgery, Rhett muttered. At least 3 entries. AI assistance confirmed. The word hit harder than I expected. Not a mistake. Not a misunderstanding. A hit job. A document popped up. Recommendation for psychiatric evaluation. Scheduled for next Tuesday. Signatory? My mother. She was going to have me committed. Rhett didn't answer. His jaw tightened. He tapped another folder. Inside was a video. Play. A security cam feed. Empty hallway. Then a figure. Celeste. Walking fast. Glancing behind her. A key card in hand. She approached the admin office. Slipped inside. Left 2 minutes later with a small black box tucked under her coat. What is that? Rhett leaned in. Admin vault. Physical data storage. He paused the video. Zoomed in. She's not just helping your mom. She's stealing proof. The sound of a door clicking behind us snapped our heads around. Voices. Close. We have to move, Rhett said. Now. He unplugged the drive, killed the laptop, motioned to the vent shaft on the sidewall, opened it. You first. I crawled in. Narrow. Metal scraped my elbows. My breath echoed inside the duct like a scream. Below us, 2 voices. She took something, one of them said. Mail. Come. What if she's already seen it? A woman. Nervous. Young. She won't make it far. My hand trembled. One wrong sound. One cough. One breath too loud. The air smelled like metal and dust and old fear. We dropped into the janitor's closet on the far end of the hall. Rhett locked it behind us. Outside the school, the wind howled. A flash of headlights cut across the window. Black SUV. Tinted. Celeste's ride. I didn't ask how he knew. Sometimes you don't need to explain fear. You just survive it. We slipped into the trees again. Branches clawed. My knee twisted once, nearly buckled. He grabbed my arm. Steady. We're not done, he said. There's more. They buried it deeper. What if they're watching us right now? He didn't blink. They are. Silence. I looked at the flash drive in his hand. Cold. Heavy. like it carried more than data. They wanted to make you the story, Rhett said quietly, so nobody would ask what happened to the others. He pulled a paper from his coat, crumpled, water-stained. A list. 7 names. All students. All expelled. All flagged with code C red. Every single one tied to Celeste. Some were ex-friends. One was a competitor for a scholarship. Another had accused her of cheating. They disappeared from the school system, he said. No records. No appeals. Nothing. My stomach dropped. And my name was next. My mother hadn't protected me. She'd signed the orders. She'd built the paperwork. My sister had planted the match. All I had left was the fuse. If we pull one more thread, the whole town unravels. The door to the records room didn't creak. It clicked. Soft, mechanical. Wrong. The kind of click that says you weren't supposed to hear this open. We slipped inside, past rows of forgotten metal filing cabinets and half-covered portrait frames. Dust shimmered in the flashlight like ash. Something about it felt sacred and violated at once, like we were trespassing on the ruins of a truth everyone else wanted buried. Rhett moved with purpose. He'd been here before. This was where Nolan found it, he whispered. The names, the timeline, the files they tried to erase. His hand stopped at a cabinet marked sealed. Lock intact. Pad coated. He knelt, pulled something out of his coat. What's that? Key override. Stolen from the vice principal's desk 2 weeks ago. He slid it into the keypad. One red blink, then green. The drawer popped. Inside, folders. Manila. Dated. Paper that smelled like old air and decisions made behind closed doors. He grabbed one. Flipped it open. A name, Addison Vane. A photo. Blonde. Smiling like someone who hadn't yet realized how fast the world could turn on you. Top student, Rhett muttered. Vanished sophomore year. They said she transferred. She didn't. Nope. He pulled the next file. Another girl. Then another. All had one thing in common. Each folder had a second paper stapled to the back, code C red. Each form had a signature. My mom's. Ellen Keegan. Head of the school board. Authorizer of emergency removals for emotional instability, code violation, or community risk. All sanctioned. All closed. No due process. I blinked hard. My hands trembled. This isn't just expulsion, I whispered. This is blacklisting. No appeals, Rhett said. No chance to defend themselves. No parents involved. Just in the interest of community protection. They were ghosts. Deleted from the system like they'd never existed. Cut scene. A noise outside the records room. Footsteps. Sharp heels. 2 pairs. Rhett's eyes locked on mine. We didn't speak. He grabbed a few folders, jammed them into his backpack, shoved the drawer shut, reset the lock, motioned me toward the back. There was a ladder, led up to the maintenance attic. Go. I climbed. Dust choked my throat. Every creak sounded like thunder. We squeezed through the narrow crawl space. My knees scraped metal. Something shifted below. Voices. I told you not to leave this room unsecured. That voice. Detective Samira Gray. Who else knows about the cabinet? She said. Someone muttered back. Too low. I want it gone. Burned, if necessary. Burned? My breath hitched. That wasn't damage control. That was erasure. Rhett pointed toward the ventilation shaft. We slipped in. Crawled through the dark like rats. My heart beat, so loud I was sure it echoed. You ever hear that saying, he whispered, the people who act like they're protecting the truth are usually hiding something uglier behind it? I nodded. Couldn't speak. The shaft dropped us behind the old boiler room. We ran. Cut scene. Back in the woods. Flashlights off. Night cold. Skin raw. At the cabin, everything had changed. Door wide open. Furniture smashed. Candle knocked over. Burn mark on the floor. Someone had been here. Rhett darted inside. Came out fast. His face was pale. They took the laptop. I checked my backpack. Flash drive gone. Gone. A phone buzzed. Not mine. Rhett's burner. One message. You should have stayed deleted. He threw the phone. This is bigger than Celeste, I said. He nodded. She's just the knife. Someone else is holding the handle. Thunder cracked in the distance. Rain started again. Harder this time. He opened his coat. Pulled out one last file. Folded dirty. Inside a photo. Celeste. My mom. And Samira Gray. Smiling. Standing in front of a building. Not the school. A law office. Private. Top right corner. Jennings and Blythe. My mom's former firm. What were they doing there? Covering tracks, Rhett said. Or signing something. Like what? His voice dropped. Power of attorney. Custodial control. Transfer rights. That's not legal without consent. He looked at me. They forged yours, Mara. I staggered back. That's why they needed the signature. He nodded. They want more than your silence. They want everything that's yours. I stared at the photo. Smiles. Suits. Ink on paper that could ruin a life. We weren't supposed to survive this long. The ballroom smelled like stale champagne and rich perfume. Velvet ropes. Golden chandeliers. Politicians in polished shoes. The town's annual winter gala. And every monster in the room was smiling. I stood in a black borrowed dress 2 sizes too big, hair wet from a quick sink rinse at the gas station. Rhett had hacked our names onto the volunteer list. If you want to rip out the roots, he said, you go where the rot starts. On stage, my mother was giving a speech. And together, we've built not just a school, but a legacy. Applause. Cameras flashed. My jaw clenched. Legacy, I muttered. You mean the paper trail of expelled kids you tried to vanish? Rhett pressed a hand to my back. Focus. Find the USB port on the AV deck. You've got 3 minutes. We snuck behind the curtain. Under the podium was a control panel, plugged into the projector system. I slid the flash drive in. On the screen above my mom's head, the slideshow changed. No longer scholarship winners. No longer community donations. Now scanned documents. SIRED files. Forged signatures. Emails between Celeste and Samira. A bank statement linking Jennings and Blythe to off-book disbursements. $250,000 labeled Operational Redirection Fund. The ballroom went dead silent. Then gasps. One woman clutched her pearls. Another whispered, "That's Addison Vane." I thought she moved. My mother turned. Her face drained. The last slide was a photo, me, 14, school uniform, red-marked suspension letter beside me. Captioned, scheduled for psychiatric hold. Approval, Ellen Keegan. "Shut it down," she barked. Too late. Whispers erupted. Journalists ran for their phones. Rhett yanked the flash drive. Security moved fast. We ran faster. Cut scene. Through the kitchen. Out the side door. Slipped behind a delivery truck. Tires screeched somewhere behind us. We didn't stop. "You ever notice," I panted, "truth only hurts when you've spent your life hiding from it." Rhett grinned. We jumped a fence. Landed hard. Kept running. An alley. A shortcut. Then headlights cut us off. Celeste's car. She stepped out, heels crunching glass. "I warned you, Mara," she hissed. "You could have just disappeared like the others." I stepped forward. "You made me disappear. Now I'm taking it all back." She laughed. "You think this is over." She pulled out her phone. "Everyone you know, your school, your accounts, your friends, they've already turned. You're radioactive now." Rhett stepped between us. "Then maybe it's time someone told your boyfriend, Nolan, that his name's still on the contract." She froze. That was the twist. Her face cracked. For 1 second, she wasn't the Ice Queen. She was just scared. "Nolan's alive," she whispered. "Alive," I said. "And watching." Rhett pulled out another phone. Played the audio clip. Nolan's voice. Broken. Trembling. Describing how he was bribed, set up, discarded. By Celeste. By Mom. By the law firm. A car pulled up behind her. Doors opened. Men in suits. But not her guys. Federal. Rhett tossed something at her feet. The original flash drive. "You're going to need a better lawyer," he said. One agent stepped forward. "Celeste Keegan, you're under arrest." She lunged. Tried to run. Tried to lie. Didn't matter. They tackled her fast. Cut scene. News broke within the hour. Live streams. Hashtags. Comment sections burning. I watched it all from the safety of the shadows. No home to return to. But finally, no lies left chasing me. It wasn't justice yet, but it was a beginning. The final thread wasn't pulled yet. That was still waiting in the courtroom. The courtroom was cold. Not from temperature, but from silence. You could hear everything. A throat clear. A pen click. A breath held too long. I sat at the plaintiff's table in a tailored black suit borrowed from Rhett's cousin. Hands folded, spine straight. My mother sat across the aisle. She didn't look like a woman who once ruled a school board. She looked like a woman unraveling thread by thread. "Ms. Keegan," the judge said, "are you aware of the legal consequences of signing custodial documents without consent from the minor or the state?" My mother didn't answer. The lawyer beside her whispered. Finally she spoke. "Yes, Your Honor." Her voice cracked on the word yes. Behind me, the gallery was packed. Students. Parents. One girl I recognized from a red stamp file. She gripped her younger brother's hand like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. Rhett leaned in, whispering, "This is the part where the truth stops whispering and starts screaming." The prosecution laid out everything. Emails, bank records, voice memos, the fake diagnosis forms, the manipulated transfer of assets. All signed, all stamped, all traced back to a single source, my mother and her private allies at Jennings and Blythe. There were no more cutscenes, only exposure. The judge called for closing statements. My heart thudded. I stood. The courtroom blurred, but my voice didn't. When I was 14, I thought getting kicked out in a storm was the worst thing that could happen. Turns out, it was just the beginning of being erased. They didn't just try to take away my place in the world. They tried to take my existence. A pause, but the truth always leaves a stain. And today, we're all here because the truth finally bled through. Silence. Then the gavel. Motion to prosecute. Custodial fraud. Forgery. Obstruction of justice. It echoed like a final bell. Cut scene. Later that night, Rhett and I sat on the hood of his car, parked outside the now empty school building. Snow drifted in soft, slow spirals. The town was quiet but not dead. Alive. Waking up. "You did it," he said. I shook my head. "We did." He grinned. "So what now?" I watched a crow fly over the flagpole. "Now I rebuild. From truth this time, not survival." He nodded. "People will still talk." "They always do. But now they'll know who I am." Rhett tossed me a key. "What's this?" "Storage unit. Everything Nolan gave me. Old files. Footage. Names." I raised a brow. "You kept it all?" He smirked. "I'm not stupid." Silence settled. Not heavy this time. I looked up at the building. Glass cracked from age. Banners still hanging from last year's parade. But something felt new. "You know," I said, "they used to say the past is a place you escape. But I think it's a place you confront. So it doesn't chase you anymore." He didn't answer. Just smiled. Because some ghosts don't need exorcisms. They just need the truth dragged into the light. I walked away that night not with vengeance, but with clarity. And sometimes clarity is the most dangerous thing of all.